for the lovely introduction. And I'll tell you, I'm intimidated by all the wonderful people speaking here today. And absolutely gorgeous to hear Debbie's beautiful tribute to Phil. And to hear Phil, who I remember. Can you hear me okay? Or should I bring up this? I need this. Is that better? Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay, sorry. To hear Phil Mullins, who I remember from Some Kind of Wonderful, at one time my favourite group in Dublin, and also to hear some of the beautiful tributes that have been on the videos as well. So I suppose my talk today is best described as kind of a tapas. I'm going to do a little bit about the history of broadside ballads, the kind of things that might have influenced some of Phil's songs. I'm going to do a little bit about his songs themselves, but they've been a little bit covered here as well. A little bit about the idea of song lyrics on the Leaving Certificate course, and I'm going to finish with a song if I have time as well. So, and it's also wonderful to be here, not just to celebrate Phil, but also to celebrate Sarah Lundberg, who was a very good friend of mine and a friend of poets in Dublin, who gave us a lot of platforms and published our work. So a lot of people to remember here today. So, can I move the things on with this? Let's see if I can manage it. Oop. Okay, there we go. So, if you're not familiar with the idea of broadsheet ballads, there were ballads that were printed on very cheap paper, cut up usually into slips, into single ballads, and sold often by the people who wrote them on the streets of Dublin and all around the world, really. And they were often adorned with a decorative woodcut, although because the printer had a very limited number of woodcuts, the picture didn't necessarily go with the text. I'm going to start with the song Thousands of Sailing. There are many songs about emigration in the broadside tradition in Ireland. And I suppose it's part of all our lives and our histories, people who emigrated from our families. So the broadsides on those themes are almost always illustrated with a ship. And as you can see, there's several different examples here behind me. There's the joys of emigration, there's the sorrows of emigration, there's people very sad to leave their homes and preparing the way for other people to join them, maybe in the new place. So Phil took the name of his song, Thousands Are Sailing, from an old Irish emigration song. As he says here on the very useful Pogues forum, where he engaged with fans a lot and told about the inspiration for his songs. So as he says here, he was aware of the traditional song, Thousands Are Sailing to America, but I was only really interested in the title. So the song, the original song is, as you can see, as he says here, Thousands Are Sailing to America. But as you can see here on Andy Irvine's lyrics, the same song is just called Thousands Are Sailing. So these are some of the difficulties when you're researching old ballads. They tend to have a lot of different names. So as you can see, the opening of the original song here, you brave Irish heroes wherever you be, I pray stand a moment and listen to me. And I mean, that's a really classic opening of this kind of ballad because people are literally walking by on the street or maybe at a market or a fair. So you want to get their attention and get them to stop for a minute and listen to you singing your song and then maybe buy your ballad. And that's what the people were doing in this part of the song. So Andy released his version of the song in 1981, the same year as Phil wrote the song. So I suspect it must have been an influence and not just the title. I think Phil, in saying that he was only interested in the title, probably wants to say that he wasn't copying the song, which he wasn't. But obviously there are resonances from old songs in the modern songs that people write. And here's Andy Irvine talking about that song and about emigration songs. So he has a lot of songs of emigration in his repertoire, but this particular one seems to have been written by a poet or a ballad maker who stands apart and views the subject objectively, and it gives it a very modern feel. So a lot of emigration songs, they're quite kind of similar, you know, they're sad to leave the country, that kind of thing. But this one, Thousands Are Sailing, takes a look back. It looks at the American wake that the people celebrate before the person emigrates, and the mother and father crying and the families waving goodbye as they go. So Andy got the song from the late Eddie Butcher, one version, and then he got another version from some other people. And he juggled the words a bit and put it to a tune of his own, as he says here. Now, this is just a lovely quote from Jerry Kavanagh that was shared on the thread with us for this event. And it describes Phil's love of Planxty. And not only that, but he got Planxty to come to his school, which is really quite amazing achievement for a schoolboy. And they have Christy Moore and Liam Oak, and I'm sure Andy Irvine was there as well, singing in the school. And obviously, how cool is that? He was a hero after that, as Jerry tells us. And indeed, you can imagine that must have been an amazing thing to happen in a school for Planxty to be there. So I think that Phil must have been interested in Planxty and in, the various members and followed their songs along. So as I said again, I'm fairly sure he listened to Andy Irvine's song when it came out. So the original song, Thousands Are Sailing, there are various versions in this wonderful archive in the National Folklore Collection called the Schools Collection. These are children in the 1930s, the late 1930s mostly in this case, were sent home from school all around the country to get stories and songs and bits of local folklore, that kind of thing, from their parents and grandparents and older relations. And in various cases, they picked up versions of this song in the oral tradition. And I would have missed some of them, though, because, again, there's lots of different names for the song, and sometimes it has no name. So Tom Munnelly, who's a researcher of songs who passed away some years ago, but was really interested in old Irish ballads, he made an index to songs about the sea in this collection. And by looking at that, I could see there's all these songs that are called In Thousands They're Sailing. In Thousands They're Sailing to America. One of them is called the Emigrant song. It's still the same song. In Thousands They're Sailing and Thousands Are Sailing to America. So there's various versions of the song. So it just, I suppose, gives you a flavour of the idea of how difficult it is when you're researching ballads to really track down specific songs and specific lyrics. I'll just show you two examples of the song in the folklore collection. So this one was picked up from a man called Terry Woods in County Cavan. And he describes a local poet, Patrick McCabe Killatee. Killatee is the name of a place, so I'm not sure if Patrick was called Patrick McCabe Killatee or he's just called Patrick McCabe, but he's from Killatee. And he says he died in 1938. And he gives some details, and he gives two verses of the song that actually is Thousands Are Sailing to America. The night before leaving, they're saying goodbye. Early next morning, their heart gives a sigh. Here in Ireland, no longer can stay, for thousands are sailing to America. So this one is claiming that it was written by a man in Cavan. The next one, from Sligo, this song was composed by John Breheny, who was a native of Lower Carrigans, which is a place in Sligo, some time ago. It was composed when the people were sailing in thousands to America. The following is, and she actually gives the whole lyrics of the song, so on the next few pages. All you Irish people, wherever you be, I pray stand a moment and listen to me. Our sons and fair daughters are all going away. In thousands, they're sailing to America. So I think you can see not only the names of the songs, but the names of the authors of the songs. And there's various complications, as you can see, in being a ballad researcher or scholar. So here's Eddie Butcher that Andy Irvine got the song from. He died in 1980. He was born in 1900 in McGilligan, I think it's called, in County Derry. And Frank Hart also got the song. He's a wonderful hero of mine, a wonderful singer and song collector of Dublin. Frank Hart also got the song from Eddie Butcher, same as Andy Irvine, but Frank kept Eddie's music, whereas Andy wrote his own tune to the song. And so this is what Eddie has to say about the song. So the diamond is like the square in Derry. And so there's always ballad singers in the diamond. They sang a lot of songs and told you before what the song was, which is a thing that you appreciate a lot when you're listening to a song first, sometimes to hear where the song came from, what's it about. There's a wee boy would go about with a great lot of them in his hand, would sell to the people round about. So these are actually broadside ballads. They were priced from about 2 pence to 3 pence a piece. he was singing this song about people sailing away to America. My father bought the ballad, so I got it in my pocket, was very fond of it and kept it. I have the song yet. So this is probably, we're talking about 1910, maybe to 15, because if he's still a child, he's born in 1900, you're probably expecting it's 1910, 1912, that his father is buying that ballad. Now, in all of the research on this song, it says that it came down in the oral tradition and there aren't any broadsides of it. There's not actually printed ballads of the song. But here we see that there was a printed ballad of the song, and Eddie Butcher kept it for a lot of his life. But sadly, we don't have it now, and maybe one day we might find it again. But it's lovely to know that it is there somewhere and was bought in Derry in about 1910. So what other elements are in Phil's Thousands Are Sailing song? There's a lot of emigration songs, as I said, but there's also a lot of famine songs in Ireland, songs about emigration during the famine. And that is an element in Thousands Are Sailing by Phil as well. The man came on a coffin ship. He's a famished man, so he's coming at the time of the Irish famine. And so these are just a few examples, and I've just cut the top off so that you can see the nice woodcuts on them. There's different ones. The Emigrant's Farewell to Ireland, since the potato crop has got the rot, is a quote in that one. Farewell, the evicted farmer, so he can't eat his own crop, so he has to go. A new song of the rotten potatoes, and is telling the landlords that everybody's starving, they have to emigrate. So that all of these songs have some element of that, a famished man and that kind of background. So we've got emigration songs, we've got famine emigration songs as well. But there's also a ghost in Phil's song, and there's ghosts in lots of Phil's songs. They're populated with ghosts, not just Ghost Town, which is a fantastic concept for an album as well, as a fantastic album. But there's a ghost in the song. It's a ghost that's speaking, the ghost of the famished man who he dances with in New York. Sorry, I've tried to read my slides here, so they fall away. So what you're seeing here behind you is She Moves Through the Fair, which was a song written by Pádraig Cullen. It's a typical kind of song in the Irish tradition, the night visiting song, which is usually a dead lover coming to visit the person in the middle of the night and speaking to them. So She Moves Through the Fair is a night visiting song. The girl who moves through the fair dies in the song, and then she comes to him at night. Last night she came to me, she came softly in, so softly she came that her feet made no din, because she's dead. And she puts her hands on him and says, it will not be long, love, till our wedding day. So it's quite a creepy song, because she's saying to him, we're still going to get married. I mean, is he going to die, or what's going to happen? But it's a very interesting idea for song. Now, as you can see, this is beautiful quality. It's not your poor little halfpenny ballad. These are the kind of things that they did in the Irish Literary Revival. This is a drawing by, or a hand-coloured print by Jack B. Yeats and W.B. Yeats as well. They were very involved in making artifacts, beautiful artifacts that kind of were based on the older tradition of songs and poems in Ireland. So She Moved Through the Fair went into the tradition as a traditional song, even though it isn't one, it is based on traditional songs. And the Irish Literary Revival people, like Yeats, were kind of almost obsessed with writing songs that had the authenticity of a ballad, the authenticity of old songs. So Yeats has Down by the Sally Gardens, which is another one that's considered to be very traditional. And there isn't any shame really in writing songs that then go into a traditional mode, which has also happened, I think, with Thousands Are Sailing. That people think of it as a traditional song, even though it's been brought up to date. It's very much a living traditional song. So in Phil's song, he's got emigration, he's got famine, and he's got a ghost. All of those elements are common in Irish songs, but not together. And in fact, I don't think there's another one that has those three elements. There are emigration songs, famine songs, and ghost songs, but not all together. I don't think you get a ghost in emigration songs usually. So it's an interesting kind of step, bringing things together. And I think Phil Mullins was talking about the cento idea. And the cento idea and the kind of collage idea of taking things from different songs and sources and then bringing them together into something that's new and that's really creative is very powerful in Phil's work. And now people have gone through this a little bit here, but I just wanted to pick out just a couple of things. So Thousands Are Sailing, which is a title of a song, as I've been talking about today. Across the Western Ocean, though, is also a title of a song. It's a title of a sea shanty that was sung on Irish packet ships going often from Liverpool to the States. And Irish sailors on them sang this sea shanty. And I'm going to give it a go if I can after this. The other thing I wanted to say about this song is that I think this was very influential on Fairy Tale of New York, on Shane MacGowan's very massively popular song. This was written about, I think, 4 years before Shane's song. This is 1981. Shane's of, I think, 1985 to 6, if I'm correct. I think there's a lot of elements. Now, it's not just the ghost. So in this song, there's a conversation with the ghost. The ghost is a famine ghost. And there's dancing with that ghost in Broadway and at the death of the afternoon, at the beginning of the twilight. In Shane's song, there's a conversation with the ghost also. Now, it's a ghost that might still be alive. It's a vision, like an Irish kind of ashling, that this drunk has when he's in the drunk tank. He's got this vision of his, and has a conversation with an old partner. So even though we sort of think that the song is happening and he's with her, he isn't. He's imagining her. It's a ghost song of sorts. And they're dancing on Broadway, as you remember in Fairy Tale of New York. They're also dancing in Broadway in Phil's song, Dancing with a Ghost. I think you'd have to say that there's something going on there in the consciousness of Shane when he's writing the song, that Thousands Are Sailing has that, is in the background there. The other thing that both songs have quite a lot of references to other songs. So as I said, there's Thousands Are Sailing and Across the Western Ocean. He mentions the Blackbird, a beautiful Irish traditional tune, which is also a song. In Shane's song, there's the band, they're singing Galway Bay, and the old man in the corner is singing The Rare Old Mountain Dew. So there's a lot of things in common with those two songs. And as I said, I think I would have to say that the one song came out of the other, or came out of the consciousness of the other song. And there's just a few pictures that were in the Frank Hart book of the illustrating the Thousands Are Sailing book, or the Thousands Are Sailing song that Frank also got from Eddie Butcher. We've been through a few of the cento ideas of the lyrics there, but just because I wanted to get a little breakdown of some of them, because nobody's actually been through the actual breakdown, we've got the Shadows of a Gunman reference here from Sean O'Casey, a title from Sean O'Casey, who's, I think very appropriate to quote when we're here today. The Greasy Till is obviously from Yeats from September 1913, when he's very, very disillusioned with the Ireland that's coming to be there, and he thinks they're very mercenary and they aren't full of the wonderful ideals that he thought they had. I don't care if your heroes have wings. Well, Joyce has Icarus and Daedalus, Stephen Daedalus, who are heroes with wings, and one of them doesn't survive, the other one does. But Yeats also in the same poem talks about grey wings on every tide. He's talking about the flight of the Earls in Ireland. So they were heroes with wings. They're always depicted as flying, and the flight of them. So he's referencing a few different very well-known Irish authors there. Obviously, the Terrible Beauty Has Been Torn. We all know that one from Yeats. The poetry in paralysis is very interesting because Jerry Kavanagh, whose lovely piece I read about Phil, said that a brother in their school used to talk about poetry and paralysis. But paralysis is a central character almost in Joyce's The Dead. It's a very big word with Joyce. It's a very big word about Dublin. Dublin is people are paralysed because they're paralysed by the church, really, as Phil said, and they're paralysed by not being able to do the things they want to do. And one of the characters in the young boy in the sister's story in The Dead repeats the word paralysis to himself. He he turns the word over in his mind and repeats it because it's such a resonant word about Dublin. So I think Phil was a very, very well-read man, a very well-versed. He read everything, as his sister was telling us there. He was versed in theatre, he was versed in plays and musical theatre, music hall, all sorts of things. And so he knew what he was doing. You know, he knew what he was doing when he was bringing all these things together. He knew that he was bringing the resonances of literature, of well-known literature to what he was doing. Now I'm going to move on to my other tapas dish. And so this is the opening slide of a talk that I give to students in secondary school, often leaving cert, sometimes junior cert as well. And as you see, the title comes from a Bob Dylan song, comes from Tangled Up in Blue. Every one of them words rang true and glowed like burning coal. Bob Dylan is talking about Dante 600 years before, and his words still rang true and glowed like burning coal for Bob Dylan. So I think that's, got a great idea of the resonance of literature, of song, of poems. Bob wanted to capture that when he was writing his song, Tangled Up in Blue. So when I talk about that to the students, I talk to them about song lyrics and songs, because young people who aren't as well-versed maybe as Phil or people like that in song and poetry, they're a bit afraid of poetry. They find it scary because it's supposed to have lots of meanings, they're kind of hidden, and they aren't that comfortable with the idea. They don't ever feel that fear about songs. Even though songs are very related to poetry, they don't fear songs. They're happy to listen to a song 20 times, a million times, and get a new meaning or get more out of it every time they listen. But they often aren't prepared to put that same effort into poetry because they don't think it'll be rewarded in the same way. Of course, it will be. So one of the things I wanted to say today is that if Bob Dylan can get the Nobel Prize for Literature for writing song lyrics, well then song lyrics are literature. I mean, we know that really, but they've been recognized by a very powerful literary body as being literature. And I think in that kind of, with that kind of knowledge, we've got a good way to push song lyrics to be on the Leaving Certificate course and the Junior Cert course. It's high time they were. And I think it would be a great thing for young people because I think they would feel maybe more connected to the lyrics than they do to poetry sometimes. I think not just Phil Chevron's lyrics should be considered to be on the Leaving Cert course, but people like Christy Moore, like Jimmy McCarthy, like Pete St. John, like Eleanor McAvoy, Christy Moore, whatever. I think there's lots of people, and that would make a great section for the Leaving Cert literature course to have song lyrics on there. So I just wanted to make that little pitch for Phil's lyrics today. So this is a song Across the Western Ocean that Phil references in his song, in the chorus of his song, Thousands Are Sailing. It's a sea shanty, as I said, that's sung by Irish sailors going to the States. I'm going to try and give it a go. So let's see if I can manage that. I'm sorry I arrived a bit late today because I was coming from the south side and everything was blocked off. So the Pride Parade is a fantastic thing unless you're trying to cross the Liffey. So I'll say I'm sure Phil would be delighted to know the Pride was there, and he probably would think it was quite a good thing that people were stopped coming from the south side to his event as well. So I'm going to see if I can do this. So give me a second. Now, I don't know if I can plug this in or just do it. Is this mic on, Phil? Or should I try the other one? Okay. Now, so I'm losing pages all around here. Let's just see. Okay. I've lost my song lyrics. Now, I should know the words, but should know the words. I'll give it a go. Oh, they are behind me there as well. Oh, the times were hard and the wages low. Amelia, where are you bound for? The Rocky Mountains are my home. Across the Western Ocean. Across the Western Ocean. Sorry, I played that totally wrong. I'll try that again. Let's turn this around. Oh, the times were hard and the wages low. Amelia, where are you bound for? The Rocky Mountains are my home. Across the Western Ocean. Across the Western Ocean. Across the Western Ocean. The Rocky Mountains are my home. Across the Western Ocean. Well... A land of plenty there you'll see. Amelia, where are you bound for? I'm bound across the Western Sea to join the Irish Army. Amelia, where are you bound for? Amelia, where are you bound for? I'm bound across the Western Sea to join the Irish Army. Well, to Liverpool I'll make my way. Amelia, where are you bound for? Liverpool, that Yankee school, across the Western Ocean, across the Western Ocean, across the Western Ocean, to Liverpool, that Yankee school, across the Western Ocean. There's Liverpool Pat with his tarpaulin hat, across the Western Ocean, and Yankee Jack, that pocket rat, across the Western Ocean. Across the Western Ocean, across the Western Ocean, and Yankee Jack, that pocket rat, across the Western Ocean. Beware the pocket ship, I say. Amelia, where are you bound for? It'll take your hide and your soul away. Across the Western Ocean, across the Western Ocean, across the Western Ocean. It'll take your hide and your soul away. Across the Western Ocean. Thank you.